I went to Kelly Services this morning. Originally, I had took my daughter because I had never been to a temp agency before where you could not take your child. They informed me when I arrived that my daughter was not allowed to be there. I got there early because I could not remember the exact appointment time. I've been trying to remember a lot of things, appointments lately. I couldn't remember exactly what time we scheduled it, so I got there. I arrived at 8 o'clock with my child. They said, we cannot talk to you with your child here. You're going to have to drop her off and come back. I go over to the WIC office. I drop my child off. And I come back. I have my laptop in tote, all my forms of identification, and I'm ready to go for my interview. They had an e-registration that I was supposed to fill out before I got there. And what I was trying to do, they wanted addresses for the previous 10 years where I had lived, all my addresses. I had tried to put that in the computer. For some reason, it wasn't going through. So when I showed up and they pulled up my name, all they had was like my name and my email and the basic information. They didn't have the addresses that I had put in or anything. So there was no way for me to save it that I could see. Anyway, there might have been a button at the bottom. I had just closed my computer. I was hoping it would stay, I guess. So basically, I'm doing the interview with the woman. These are both minorities. I'm explaining I'm in my second year of school, the beginning of my second year toward an AS and office administration. I have some clerical skills, but mainly from call centers, inbound, outbound, entering confidential and personal information about clients and customers into a database, blah, blah, blah. But mainly, I had sent my resume for industrial because I knew that those are the positions they have available. She informs me that they have nothing available except from a 6 a.m. to a 4:30 p.m. at this time, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, are we going to finish the interview and in case something comes up for second shift? No, we don't have anything like that, or third shift. Basically from the get-go, when she asked me about my experience, I try to describe, I have every type of industrial experience. I have experience in a little bit of everything, okay? Industrial, everything from pallet jack to working on a line to packing to which can be at the end of the line, processing, sorting orders, assembly, filling. I've worked in printing. I've worked in printing places, 2 of them. Now that I think about it, Shine Printing and Traders Publishing. And basically, as I'm trying to do this interview, they're saying I'm not professional enough. The lady's like, have you ever been on an interview before? How many interviews have you been on? She wants me to pull up out of my head my last, 8 years, my work experience. I said, well, I did a lot of subcontracting, a lot of 1099. I tried to start my own nonprofit organization, blah, blah, blah. And this lady, who I have to say happens to be a minority, is like, you can't give me dates as to when you worked, where, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, here, let me look at my resume. Let me get my resume pulled up, see what I have written down there. I want to make sure that whatever I say, I'd be guesstimating because I don't exactly remember. I just sit down to make all this out. I said, I've kind of done a lot of different things. I want to make sure it doesn't, contradict whatever's on my resume. Well, that was the wrong thing to say. And then when I was describing my work environment as far as line work at Dawn Foods, they accused me of discrimination because I said that they had a group of Asian women who would come in and work on the line, very quiet, spoke their own language, didn't socialize or associate themselves with the Americans. I didn't know if they were imported or what. And that basically they had a huge turnover when it came to Americans, because of the hostile environment that that working on a line can turn into. It can definitely be a very stressful place to work at. And people don't understand, working on a line, you got to be fast enough. If you slow down, you could get screamed at, yelled at. There's a lot to it. And these ladies were looking at me like I was the worst person in the world. So basically, these 2 minorities who are supposed to help me find a job at Kelly's temp agency in the land are looking at me, calling me a racist. They're saying the way to describe my work environment is discrimination because I'm excluding one culture. If they're imported from China, how can I not just, exclude them as one culture? Like, I didn't say that. I said, I don't know. I said, but they were there every day working overtime. I mean, and then the Americans, they were, they're usually, they do that kind of work after they've been unemployed, and they felt the severity of not having a paycheck, and they commit themselves to that kind of atmosphere, and because of that, apparently I'm a horrible person. So they basically kind of threw me out of Kelly Services temp agency. And I said, excuse me. I said, look, I have a neurological disorder. I passed college algebra in 6 weeks. I said, there's not an assignment you're going to get in here that I'm not qualified for. I'm sorry to say. I have an experience in a little bit of everything. And you're talking to me like, it was horrific. Absolutely horrific. And I hate to say it, like, people think I'm racist. You're making me feel a certain way. I'm not saying I hate people because of their skin color. I'm not saying that I hate people because of where they were born. I'm saying this is America. I was born and raised here. My grandmother was born and raised here. My great-great-grandmother was born and raised here. My great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother and grandfathers were both born and raised here. They fought and died for this country. My family is part of the brave people that lined up and died and went overseas and had rifts in their marriages and all that for their country. They sacrificed a lot for their country. And I'm a product of that. I'm one of the children born of the brave men and women that helped turn this country into what it's supposed to be. And I'm supposed to be entitled to freedom. But now I'm getting called a racist. And I'm getting called unprofessional, trying to do my best at a temp agency. Like, if you had a problem with my interviewing skills, we could work on that. You could have been a little bit nicer. We could have made it laughed, had some fun. Not fun, but, anything to help the interview go along. They basically kicked me out of their office, and I'm really not sure how to process this, because I've got 2 minority women staring down their nose at me, kicking me out of their office. How am I supposed to feel about that? And then it's my fault because I'm white, and apparently I don't have enough experience in the interviewing process, because I was supposed to go in there knowing the month, the year, all that right off the top of my head. I'm a single mother and a college student, and I've got appointments to remember left and right. And God forbid I can't think of months and dates of when I worked for who at that exact moment. So I said, I have a neurological disorder. I said, just because I can't pull something up right at this minute, I said, this is discrimination. I said, I brought my laptop so I could pull up my resume and even send it to you, actually, for my for administrative, if you had an administrative opening. The point is apparently they're saying I wasn't up to par. And they're going to do a 10-year background check before they even let me in the door, because they want me to come back. They want me to fill out 10 years of addresses, and they are going to screen my background before they will even let me walk back in that door, if they make a decision as to whether or not they are going to reschedule me for an interview and appointment. So you can call me a racist if you want. If I meet a nice black, Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, freaking Filipino, Alaskan, I'll be nice to them. I'm nice. But, there's a lot of illegal immigrants coming over here and demanding rights. And I was more than qualified for any freaking industrial position or any position that they could have had. I have a neurological disorder which does not interfere with my life. But if I can't pull something up that happened 8 years ago from the top of my head and give you exact, accurate data, and I don't want to give inaccurate data, and you're going to hold that against me, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, because I'm unemployed, and they said it's okay. It's okay because I'm not qualified, I'm not good enough, and this is the beating that I take every time I go out there and I try to find a job. And when I was younger, people were so much nicer. I I've got these, it happens with white people too. But it doesn't matter if you're white, if you're a minority, to treat someone the way that I've been treated, I don't know. They say it's unprofessional to take your children to interviews. It's a temp agency. You're supposed to help me get my foot in the door into a company so that I can get hired and get that job. And I'm being discriminated against. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't like immigrants coming over here. I'm getting tired of being bullied by black and Hispanics. I'm getting tired of being told that I'm white trash and that I'm not good enough. And I'm not allowed to fight back because it's discrimination or it's racist. I'm getting tired of me and my blonde-haired child being looked at and stared at because she doesn't have nice clothes like the other little kids. Or like the people sitting on welfare whose child is wearing a brand new pair of Nikes every freaking month and brand name clothes, you know, all these ghetto brands that they get at Burlington and all those outlet stores. And I'm getting angry and I'm trying really hard. But something's gotta give. I got fired because of 15 black people from my waitressing job. I got fired from my small business job. Guy had a small business because I was pregnant and he didn't want a pregnant woman working for him. And I got freaking kicked out of an office by 2 minorities at Kelly's Services temp agency in DeLand. I didn't say anything wrong. I described my work environment. They did. They had a bunch of Asians that came in and they worked round the clock. They just alternated, and that was their family thing. I don't know if they were imported, I don't know if they were American, but they spoke their own language and they didn't associate with the Americans, and the Americans had their own clique, and that's not racist. Okay? We are importing and exporting goods. And people, I don't care what anybody says, and if me describing that work environment is offensive and discriminative, then maybe you shouldn't import people. I didn't say I knew for sure if they did or they didn't. I said, I don't know. That was their group. That was their clique. And line work can get ugly. People can get bitchy. And they can cuss and scream and blah, blah, blah. And everybody just wants to tell everyone else kind of how to do things. If describing my work atmosphere is discrimination, I don't know what to say because that's what America is. It's a bunch of people from different nationalities and different countries sitting here, coming into work, and I'm not allowed to describe them by ethnicity or group or culture. I separated one culture, and I didn't say anything bad about them, but you know, I don't know what to say. Because if you're gonna call me racist, then, I mean, call me it. You've called me everything else. Everything's gonna be fine. I'll figure it out.